Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 159 show. This is our first episode live from Sheffield. We've got a great show coming up. We've got climbing news from around the world. We've got technique video on how to do dynamic climbing. And to help me through all of this, we've got none other than Jerry Moffatt. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
So first job that we have to do is roll the credits. So kicking off with the news part of the show tonight, we are going to start off with the North Face Moonboard Climbing Masters.
Right.
Your good friend Ben Moon has set up a competition.
Yep.
Let's tell all the viewers at home a little bit about that.
Right, well, it's a competition on Ben's Moonboard, which is a 45-degree board, and all the holds are set up exactly the same.
Okay.
It's on, I think it's the 9th of December or something like that. Yep. And it's basically, I think it's 5 teams of two climbers in different cities all over the world. So we've got Sheffield, Barcelona, Paris.
It's New York.
New York.
And we've got 2 in Osaka in Japan.
Yeah, 2 in Osaka. So in each city, there's 2 climbers climbing. They're a team. They get to set their problems on the Saturday before, on the Friday before the competition. Okay. And each climber, there's 1 man, 1 woman, each of them will set 1 problem, and they have an hour to set that problem together. Oh. So they'll be both climbing at the same time.
So 1 guy's problem, 1 girl's problem?
Yes, okay. But they'll be both climbing at the same time, and I think you can actually watch that. I think there's a live stream of them actually setting the problem. Okay. There might be anyway. So they set their problems, and then the next day, they demo those problems. So I think it's Margot Hayes and Alex Migos in Sheffield.
Team UK?
Yep. They'll demo their problems, and then you'll go over to, say, Barcelona, and the team of 2 people there will have to try and do those problems. Okay. And then it'll go to the next city and the next city, and then you get the idea. Then it'll be Barcelona, they'll demo their problems, and then Alex and Margot will have to try and do their problems.
So it's literally like a relay race around the world?
It's like a relay race around the world. So for the spectators there'll be a live stream with a projector, so you can see the other competitors in the other cities climbing, as well as seeing it live. Okay. So it's going to be an amazing competition, the first of its type, and I think it'll be really cool. I think
it's a pretty unique aspect in that it's pulling the climbing world together in different countries. I'm not really, like you said, heard of that before. Am I also right in thinking that there are going to be a couple of hold range releases for that particular competition as well? So like Moon climbing holds are actually going to release 2 new sets of holds.
Yeah, I think he is making some new holds for that.
Okay, so they'll be climbing on fresh
grips. You know what the interesting thing, the fantastic thing is that I think it's one of the first competitions where the competitors are actually setting their own problems. Yeah. So for instance, you are obviously going to try and set a route up to what really favours your climbing. So if you think nobody else can hang on that hold, you're just going to put that hold and just pull it and lock it and think, well, can anybody else lock that? And then you might get another climber who'll do some clamping thing or some super technical thing or some, so it'd be really interesting to see the problems that people set. Yeah.
And just so you guys at home know this as well, in Team UK in Sheffield, we've got Alex Magos and Margot Hayes. In New York, we've got Daniel Woods and Kara Condi. In Barcelona, we've got Rustam Gelmanov and Katya Kadic. And in Osaka in Japan, we've got John Won Chun and Miho Nanaka on Team 1, and Tomoro Narazaki and Akio Noguchi on Team 2. That's such a strong lineup. I'm commentating on this comp, and I'm super excited just to watch it, never mind commentate on it. Yeah,
that's going to be really exciting. It's the best climbers in the world. And like I said earlier, it's the best climbers in the world setting their own problems. So they're just going to set to their strengths. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see the different types of
some phenomenal
things. And there's nowhere to hide on that moonboard because it's just 45 degrees. There's no volumes. It's just going to be a pulling dynamic fest. I think it's going to be really good.
I can't wait. It is on a Saturday afternoon for the UK viewers, so I hope hopefully you won't get to miss that because I think it's definitely worth a watch. If you look in the description of this live stream below, you'll see a link for the live stream. You can also get the live stream link from the Moon Climbing website and on ukcclimbing.com. So moving on to the second part of the news, we are going to be talking about Marcel Remy. Now, Marcel Remy is currently 94 years old, and he has a climb that he's done probably, I think he said maybe over 200 times now. He's done this climb a lot of times. And it's a 450-metre face in western Switzerland. And wow. He's said to himself that, in essence, he wants to go and climb this thing one last time. Now, this guy is 94, but he's got a climber's heart, wow. And he wants to give this thing one more shot. Yeah. I think a few people have maybe said to him that he's too old, right. But I don't think he's like that.
When did he last do it? What age was he when he last did it, do you know? I
am not too sure on that one, no.
Just being around when you're 94 is pretty good, I'd take that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just wanting to go out indoor climbing, never mind outside climbing when you're 94 is great. There is a video on UKC if you wanted to watch more information on that. We do have a short clip on Marcel Remy, which you'll play right now.
Je m'appelle Marcel Remy, je suis né le 6 février 1923.
Le miroir représente pour Marcel un aboutissement quoi, de sa vie. Puis quand il nous l'a demandé en mai dernier, franchement ça nous a vachement inquiétés parce qu'on s'est dit c'est quand même un peu trop difficile pour lui en fonction de son âge. Hein. Mais bon, il a vachement insisté, puis on s'est dit on va y mettre une sorte d'entraînement avec des buts qu'il va réaliser. L'entraînement, je pense qu'il était excellent pour le rassurer et nous rassurer aussi. Mais ça ne voulait pas dire que c'était gagné, hein, franchement.
Makes me tired just thinking about that.
Good luck to him.
Yes, I find it hard to get out of bed sometimes in the morning, never mind to go and climb up a 450-metre face. Well, I wish him all the best. Moving on to something a little bit different now, from one end of the spectrum to the other, I want to talk about Ned Feely's recent ascents. Now, this local boy from Sheffield, local boy, he's probably more of a man rather than a boy. Sorry, Ned, call you a man. He's known for his first ascents. Probably not enough, in my opinion, because a lot of his climbing goes under the radar. But there is one thing that he's put up recently which has hit the news, and that is the left-hand line of Renegade Master, which he's called Ill Behaviour. Now, have you climbed Renegade Master?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Oh gosh, I don't know when I did it.
So long ago, you can't remember.
About 15 years ago. I don't think anybody. I obviously did the first ascent.
Yep.
I don't think people do it the same way that I did it, because I climbed up this arête, and then there was a thin crack. I pre-placed a wire in the crack.
Okay.
Climbed up, clipped the wire, and then kind of went straight over the top. And I think when people have repeated it, they've had bouldering mats. They get to where that wire was, they traverse right, and go around the corner. So I think it's not been repeated the way I did it. So I've been told from other people. Not that it's like massively hard, because
a snippet of information.
Yeah. I pre-placed the wire, but nobody pre-places the wire.
Well, back in your day,
I did it pre-bouldering mats.
I was going to say, back in your day, there probably wasn't the
there was no bouldering mats.
Enabled you to do that, right?
Yeah.
So, and have you, at the time, were you aware of this line to the left?
I saw the line, and it is the obvious line. Okay. I mean, it is the line. You don't want to do Renegade Master. You want to go straight up that thing. And I saw it. Well, it was pre-bouldering mats. You wanted to do it. I thought, is it possible? I didn't really think it was possible. I did try and get into it, but when you abseil down, it's so steep and the holes are so poor, you can't reach in and then get slack to get in, so you can't even get to hang off the holds.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, and it's really hard to top rope. I think it'd be
Yeah.
But it's just an absolutely beautiful boulder, and I'm really, really happy he's done it. It's fantastic.
Well, he's given it in sort of the ballpark area of 8A+. Now, Ned is a very strong climber, and I do think sometimes his grading is a little stiff because he is so strong.
Yep.
And he definitely has a particular style. He does do a lot of high ball ascents. Now, this climb has a really big move at the top of the climb. It is a dyno to what looks like a really bad hold.
It's a real slope. It's a real slopey top.
It's not good, is it? I mean, there's loads of chalk there.
And even when you get that pulling over the top, it must be a horrendous kind of mantly thing when you get the top, because it's just kind of
horrendous mantle. Now that is one thing that I know, that this guy is hands down the best person that I know that can do a mantle. I mean, he's also done a mantling tour around the Peak District. Really? His skills at mantling are insane, second to none. Yeah. Now I actually know that to practice this route, to practice the falling of this route, that he set out his pad set up at the bottom in his garden and actually jumped out his bedroom window to check that the pad setup was good, that he was okay with the fall and the landing, to actually get into the frame of mind of taking this massive lob off the top of a piece of rock.
It's kind of like mini soloing in a way, isn't it? And you have to sort of get used to taking that time in the air and knowing that you're going to land okay.
Yeah. But just so you guys can actually see how bad this top hold is, we're just going to run a really short clip of him attempting the top move.
I tell you what,
I wouldn't want to be doing that.
Oh, I was going to say, I tell you what, it is horrendous. I mean, that fall, it is really like standing outside a second floor bedroom window and just jumping straight out of it.
Which was his thinking, I guess.
I mean, it's so high.
I've never heard of anyone training for a fall.
No. No, I mean, without mats, you're definitely breaking your legs. Definitely both legs gone.
I think this one as well, it did take a little bit of teamwork. He needed mats bringing in. It also required spotters. So a lot of, a small part of the Sheffield community really came in for him and joined his team so that he could get this block done.
Yeah.
So nice one, Ned. He's also put up another ascent this past weekend, just very quickly. It's again in the 8A ballpark. It is over near the Mother Cap area near the quarry, and he has called it Death Cap. So if any of you are keen to go and repeat some of Ned's highball blocks, then you can go and check that one out as well. Now, I've heard somewhere along the line that there's a book that we need to talk about. Maybe. It's almost as if maybe you've got one on the desk right next to you, and one behind us, and a poster to your right.
Yeah.
Just before we talk about that, let's have a little look of you back in action back in the day.
Right. That's me, and this is mine.
I'm loving the spandex.
Oh,
it's amazing. Although I do think fashion's almost come around full circle now, and I think everybody's still wearing now what you were wearing back then. So, hold your book up for me. Let's see it.
There it is.
Mastermind. We also have a copy on the shelf back here without the wrapper on, so you can see it in a little bit more detail. The book is called Mastermind.
Yep.
Can you tell me what the book's about, where it came from?
Well, I've always been interested in sports psychology ever since I sort of struggled with it, really. I was very strong mentally on climbing outside, bouldering, leading, soloing. I could do all that stuff. Then in the late 80s, competitions came along. I went to the competitions. I believed I was good enough to win them, and I completely had a meltdown. I choked. I climbed terrible. Okay. And I really, really struggled. I got fitter, I lost weight, I got stronger, I got I got in such good shape, and there was a competition in Munich which was a pivotal moment for me. And I got to the semi-final, climbed up about 3 meters. I was standing there like that, and the next thing I was sat on the rope, and it was horrendous. And after that, I realised there's no point in getting any stronger, fitter, more endurance, unless I can find out what's happening in my head.
A weak
and
link.
it was a huge weak link for me, but because competitions were different from, you know, they hadn't been there before, and I didn't climb in the beginning to do competitions.
These climbs, can you?
Yeah, and it was a new thing, so that's when I started getting into sports psychology.
Okay, and it was actually, I have read the book, it was in around Leeds, it was Leeds 89, wasn't it, that you came back?
Yeah, Leeds 89 was the competition after that one, and I got a book called With Winning in Mind by Lanny Basham, who was a rifle shooter, and I was so desperate because I had this competition coming up in England. It was the first big competition. It was the first ever World Cup event. All the best climbers were there. My goal was to win it. And I threw myself into that book. And the result was a win, and then the next win. And I think my worst result was maybe 3rd place in the next 2 years. So I went to sort of
a big
really
leap.
winning, and was ranked #1 in the ASCII rankings, you know, when I stopped doing competitions.
Okay.
And it was because of that book.
Okay.
It was because of that book. So I was in Germany a couple of years ago talking to Hannes Hook, who produced the Cafe Craft books, which were very, very successful. We were talking about sports psychology, and I was like, one day I'd like to do a book on that. And Hannes was, I'll do the book. I'll do the book. I'll do the book with you.
Do you know, I was born in 89.
Really?
Yeah, when I read this book, I was like, oh, I was born that year. Just so you guys at home as well can kind of get a feel for the book, Jerry's really gone for a casual notebook style, I would say,
so
like a journal.
I wanted to have it like something you could take to the crag, like a guidebook. So you have it with you all the time. It's got that elastic band round there, so you can sort of hold it together. It's got a thing so you can find your page. So I want it to be something that's a usable book that you just chuck in your rucksack and leave it in there. You may not take it out for a couple of weeks. You might be struggling on something. You might think, oh, my mind's drifting on this thing. I'm not concentrating, I'm focusing. What am I doing wrong? You might be able to go straight to a page, which is going to help you, and pick it up and go to that. There's lots of short chapters. It's 36 short chapters, just really dissecting down the things which are really important for, you know.
And you've also put in here spaces for people to actually write in. So there's actually exercises. So
exercises.
Everyone who wants to read it is actually like physically engaging, and it's not just reading a book, is it?
If you read the book once, it's really not going to do that much for you. You need to read the book again and again and research it and memorise it, and then you can go back to it. I've read With Winning in Mind so many times. I mean, I still have gone back to it, and I've used it to get sponsorship. You know, I used to visualise going into speaking to a sponsor. I think, what could go wrong? What could they say to me that will really throw me? You know, what reason are they going to sponsor me? And I'd write down lists of things, of reasons why they could not sponsor me. And then I'd go in there full of confidence. I'd visualise the whole thing. I would just tell them all this stuff, and it was all with the same thing. So you can use it in business. You can use it for climbing, and it will transcend, you know, all sports.
Well, I have read it, and I've even got my pen ready and waiting at home to reread it and actually go back through the exercises. Like, I am a competition climber, and having looked at the content of this book, I genuinely believe there's stuff, you know, for me in here to learn from. So if any of you at home are wondering whether to actually go and get this book, I personally would strongly recommend it. I think it's a golden nugget of information of your climbing sort of history and experiences.
I learned a lot from doing it, and the stuff that I learned from doing that book, it would have helped me 20 years ago, because it's changed from when I read With Winning in Mind.
And it's just something, like you said, it's not anything physical, it's mental training, and you can't just go to the gym and do that. It's generally
and you have to train that and work on it like you have to train getting strong fingers.
Well, all the best with the book. I hope it goes really well. And you can buy it in most climbing shops around in the UK. Where can you purchase it from if they're not in the UK?
You can get it direct from Cafe Craft at Craft Sales. And you get it on Amazon.
Perfect. So there you go. There's your opportunity to go and buy the book. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And yeah, I hope it all goes well. So to move on to the next part of the show, we're going to go on to our technique video. And today is all about climbing dynamically. This is a really brief video on how to do a dyno. We're going to break it down into individual components and then pull it all back together at the end to show you the dyno in one smooth jump. Please, please, please make sure that your landing zone is clear of people and other obstacles, such as water bottles, before you actually have an attempt. So the first thing I want to talk about is the starting position. Your arms are going to be straight, your knees are going to be bent, and your bum is going to be as low as possible. At this point, I need you to look up at your finishing holds to know how far that you have to jump. From here, I'm going to initiate the movement, and I'm going to swing my bum out with a straightening of the legs, a bending of the arms, and then a quick thrust into the wall. At this point, it's very important to make sure your hips are into the wall as fast as possible. Make sure you jump out of the highest foot last. If you've got two top holds to catch, try looking in between both of them to make sure your hands land perfectly. So we've looked at all the individual components of a dyno, and now we're going to put it all together, but we're going to play it in a slow motion video so that you can see all the components working together. The starting point is the first position, which is your bum hanging low, your knees bent and your arms straight. You're going to start the movement by firing through your legs, thrusting your bum up and into the wall, jumping out of your toes, looking at the top holds and latching the hold you're going for. So now we're actually going to rewind the video and watch it in full speed so you can see the individual components in real time. There you go, a very brief video on how to do a dyno. If you would like to watch a more in-depth video on how to do a dyno, including a floor warm-up, please click the link somewhere below my feet in the description. And thanks very much for watching. So, that was a very brief video, but I hope you know a little bit more about being able to do a dyno now. And don't forget, you can click in the link below to watch an extended version of how to do dynos, including a floor warm-up. Now, I'm quickly just going to answer a few questions that we've had sent in. The first one is, how do you get springiness in your legs? This might be from somebody who's short or somebody who can't jump very far. But what I would say is try and do as much plyometric training as possible. So I, for example, would go to the gym and do some box jumps. I would also do some low-level jumping to really get your toes and your calves a lot stronger, so not just your thighs as well. And you can also stand on the floor or the mats in front of the wall and jump as high as you can. Now what you can do is chalk up your hands. So as you tap the wall, you make a mark, and then you have another go, and you try and get higher each time. And if you do that every time you go and have a session, you'll actually be working your legs more than you think. Do you have any inside tips on leg springiness?
I would say some of it comes down to timing as well.
Yep.
You know, if you just have the power but you don't have the timing,
all goes out the window.
Yeah, it'll go out the window. So sometimes you might think that your legs aren't that springy, you're not pushing, but sometimes it might be a problem with your timing.
Tweaking technique.
As well.
Okay.
So if you can really work on your technique and get that timing so that you're pushing and everything's moving at the same time. That's the problem that I had when I first started doing dynos. I'd be pushing and like everything would be going wrong, but if you watch somebody good on dynos, their timing is really immaculate. Okay, so to add on to that, maybe you could get a friend or someone to actually film you on a camera, and then or a phone, and then you can watch it back and just see, you know, what it is really
that's
good
going
idea,
wrong.
because you'll see it straight away if you see it in a video.
So good luck with that one. The next one we have is, how good do I have to be before I start doing dynos? Now, doing a dyno is quite strenuous on the body, especially on your fingers, your hands, your shoulders and your elbows. So what I would say is being physically able to jump to some holds and easily stay on them. So for example, jumping from the floor to a jug and you not finding it hard would be a good place to start. I'm not saying that you can't go and try any level of ability, but I do think a good understanding of movement and climbing is essential first before you start sort of jumping around on the wall and stressing quite a lot of your upper body joints.
Yeah.
So stay safe with that one. And the last one is, I want to do more dynos, but I'm starting to get scared. Now, I have this quite a lot. I do coach at the Women's Climbing Symposium that happened a couple of weekends ago. And this is always one of the major things, especially in women's climbing. And what I try and say to everyone, that it's all about progression. So when you're first starting to dyno, like, you're not trying to jump to the top of the wall, okay? You're just trying to get to the point where you're confident enough to jump all 4 points off the wall and get as high as you can. Now, if that's only two inches above the next hold, then fine. But next time, try and get a little bit higher and a little bit higher. And if you need to start by jumping to no holds at all and just tapping the wall, then fine. And you can work up to actually grabbing the hold. For me, it's all about progression and not over scaring yourself. Otherwise, you'll just keep coming back to square one. I would also recommend that you get a little bit more confident with falling and landing, making sure you roll with your arms in front of your chest. Because I think that's also a real intimidating part of doing dynos, is actually what happens if it goes wrong. So it's all about progression, and make sure you're good at landing, is what I would say. So now that that's all wrapped up, we're going to move on to the last part of the show, which is the challenge part. I will run a quick video so that you can see what it is, and then we'll bring you back to the studio. The first 159 show challenge is a bat hang time trial. As you can see, I'm not very good at a bat hang. Make sure you have a buddy that puts a clock in on camera so that we can see how long you've held it for, and purely hold it for as long as you can. The winner will get some goodies. Jerry, I think maybe I need to ask you for some tips on how to get better at toe hooking or bat hanging.
Oh God, you're talking to the wrong person.
I don't seem to be very good at that. I'm not very good at my own challenge. That's not very good, is it?
I was good at hanging and pulling, but without any technique, my foot was never any good.
Hanging from our toes. So there are the two rules. No hands allowed, and please have a clock in the video all times so that we can see the time running from start to finish. You can submit your videos to Twitter or Instagram, but please use the hashtag 159showchallenge. That means we can keep track of all the videos that you're sending in and choose a winner. And that concludes the whole show for this evening. Thanks for being a guest.
Yeah,
thanks for an amazing insight into your new book and your climbing background in general. And we'll hope to see you at the next show. Thanks.